Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited, bill passes Congress to allow WASP pilots burial at Arlington. Solar Impulse 2 lands at Tulsa for a reason. Boeing authorized for design proposal on the new Air Force One. Hello, I'm Christopher C. Odom. It's May 17th, 2016, and this is Airborne Unlimited. Congress has taken action on something that should have never been an issue in the first place when they passed the Women Air Force Service Pilot Internment Restoration Act and sent it to President Obama for signature. Upon passage, the bill will allow World War II Women Air Force Service pilots, known as WASPs, to be laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. The legislature was sponsored by U.S. Representative Martha McSally, who herself served in the Air Force as a combat pilot in the Middle East. The U.S. has unanimously passed the bill on Wednesday of last week, the day after passage by the Senate. Representative McSally said in part, "We worked hard to build support in both chambers of Congress and make sure this bill would continue moving forward. I'm proud to see it now clear Congress and encourage President Obama to sign it immediately." Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the middle of the oil patch, might seem like an unlikely place for a stopover of an airplane that is attempting to circumvent the globe without using any fossil fuel to power its flight. In his LinkedIn write-up, Solar Impulse co-founder and pilot Andre Borschberg basically said the issue was that they had to find a way through a tornado alley as soon as possible, and their original plans of using a possible run to Albuquerque and Kansas City simply wasn't going to work. Their control center in Monaco started looking for another route of flight, and Tulsa appeared to be the way to go. In Tulsa, they found all of the factors they were looking for. The airport authority was anxious to work with the project, and American Airlines volunteered, at no cost, the use of one of their maintenance hangars for storage of the Solar Impulse 2 while they prepared for the next leg of their flight. It's reported the entire process for replanning the flight to Tulsa only took 6 hours. Upon landing in Tulsa after his 18-hour flight from Phoenix, pilot Bertrand Piccard commented to the press that Tulsa is a city where miracles happen, in reference to how quickly the flight was put together. After the break, Boeing to enter design phase of new Air Force One.
Since the early days of powered flight, pilots have struggled with landing in crosswinds. In fact, crosswinds and wind gusts cause more landing accidents than fog, thunderstorms, and icing combined. That's where the Redbird X-Wind SE comes in. By placing pilots in gusty crosswind conditions for extended periods of time, the X-Wind SE gives instructors all the time they need to teach the pilot the proper techniques for landing in crosswind conditions. For more information on Redbird X-Wind SE and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Welcome back. If you'd like to be a supporter of Airborne Unlimited, please send an email to jim@aero-news.net. The U.S. Air Force has authorized Boeing to begin submitting design proposals for the replacement Air Force One, which is expected to be operational in 2024. In an amendment to its Air Force One contract posted online, the USAF said that the scope of the effort will include, but is not limited to, preliminary design activities required to begin the development of 2 presidential mission-ready aircraft based on 2 government-furnished Boeing 747-8 aircraft procured under a separate contract action on this contract. This contract is being awarded on a sole source basis, as the designer and the manufacturer of the commercial 747-8 aircraft, the Boeing company has the unique capability to perform necessary tasks to provide a presidential aircraft. The government has scaled back its order by 1 airplane, according to the Air Force Times. It had originally planned to buy 3 of the heavily modified 747-8 aircraft from the plane maker, and the contract modification now calls for only 2. Every Tuesday, we're going to look ahead at some of the more interesting events in aviation universe. Here's this week's Aero-Calendar. Last week we featured the Seaplane Pilots Association as being part of our Airborne Partnership Initiative. And here's an event we found on their website that sounds like fun. On May 19th through the 22nd, the Lake Guntersville Yacht Club in Guntersville Airport in Alabama are joining to hold a fly-in and boat regatta. On this weekend, starting May 20th, the Lynchburg Regional Airport Air Show will be featuring U.S. Navy Blue Angels and a host of other air show professionals. This year's theme, A Salute to Service, was selected in order to honor our local military and servicemen and women who serve and protect our country and communities. Also on the weekend of May 20th is the 6th Annual Idaho Aviation Expo in Idaho Falls. From bush planes to turboprops, from backcountry to business, they'll be in the Aero Mark hangar. This is an all-aviation expo that will feature aircraft manufacturers, maintenance and parts suppliers, avionics clubs and associations, workshops, guest speakers, and much, much more. May 20th and 21st marks the annual Armed Forces Celebration Flying being held at Brady Curtis Field in Brady, Texas. Filled with warbirds, reenactors, rides, food, museum exhibits, vendors, and a hangar dinner dance with live World War II era big band. And finally, the European Business Aviation Convention and Exhibition, known as EBACE 2016, starts next week in Geneva, Switzerland. It's the premier event and the annual meeting place for the European business aviation community. After these messages, Teamsters Union and Sun Country Airline are at odds.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.
Welcome back. With so much news coming out of the aviation industry, we're summarizing some other interesting stories in a brief segment we call Around the Patch. The Teamsters Airline Division and Teamsters Local 120 have invoked a provision written into a 2014 letter of agreement with Sun Country Airlines. The provision is intended to stop delay tactics by the company and ensure that negotiations remain serious and substantive. Air Canada has announced that all of the nominees listed in the management proxy dated March 24, 2016 were elected as directors of Air Canada earlier this month. All nominees had already been serving except for newly elected Kathleen Taylor. Air Methods announced that its Air Medical Helicopter Base serving the greater Yellowstone region is reopening and expanding to a year-round operation. They will serve Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, the Gallatin National Forest, and the Madison River Valley. Rockwell Collins Future Airspace Navigation System has a 1A solution for Dassault Falcon 50EX aircraft that have been upgraded with the ProLine 21 avionics. It is now certified as part of a supplemental type certificate held by Dassault Falcon Jet. Tulsa, Oklahoma author Carol Mersch pays tribute to her longtime friend, Apollo 14 astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon. The recent released memoirs titled Reflections of the Moon, Retrospections on Earth, Mankind, and War. Well, that's it for today's Drip Around the Patch. Now let's move on to the rest of the news. According to reports, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 98 in Philadelphia has acquired a small air force of UAVs it is using to keep an eye on disputed work sites. Earlier this year, the union posted an HD video shot using a UAV during a protest in the city. The video was set to Rockwell's 1984 hit, Somebody's Watching Me. Non-union workers are saying that the aircraft are being used as high-tech union intimidation tactic, while immigration advocates say it could lead to racial profiling. However, the union may have violated multiple federal airspace regulations flying over the work sites. It's reported the union does not appear to hold a Section 333 exemption, and the video was reported to the FAA by another authorized aerial photographer. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported a union spokesman said, "The union is working to get into compliance with federal regulations and has not flown its aircraft since the video was recorded." Well, that's our program for today. Remember to get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. Remember that Airborne Unlimited is streamed daily, Monday through Friday, with additional breaking news bulletins for important stories that fall outside of our normal deadlines. Please join us and a growing roster of over 100 outstanding industry associations and organizations every weekday for the best in aviation and aerospace news. From the staff of the Aero-News Network, the aviation world's most comprehensive news and information resource, always have an out.